Hey everyone, Medium Cindy Kaza here. Gotta say, I'm really glad I'm a comedian and not a comedian because you guys have it rough. I'm here at the Ego's Last Stand podcast.
When I come around, got the whole thing wobbing.
And we're back for another episode of the Ego's Last Stand, the Quarantine Chronicles. I'm Josh Sarven, your host, and once again, we are without Brandy. She's busting her butt with 4 kids and 60 hours a week. It's a rough gig, but this week, we have a good friend of ours that's been on our show before, and we love to have him back. Al Snow's on the show with us. Al, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. How are you, Josh?
Man, I'm surviving this whole quarantine thing. It's interesting, to say the least. How are you doing over there?
Good. Our OVW is completely shut down. The school, everything is, but I'm still producing TV every week, so it keeps me busy with that, and forces me to be really, really creative.
Isn't that the truth? I think we're all kind of digging in our bag of tools for things to do and keep us busy, right?
Oh yeah. It's definitely been a challenge, but I mean, we're getting through it. It'll come to an end, and and we'll move on.
Hopefully, we'll go back to at least some semblance of normalcy, right?
It will. I mean, let's face it. As mass psychology is pretty simple, and that is that we operate on 2 very simple principles: panic and total complacency. And it takes us about 15 seconds to go between the 2.
Right. I've said numerous times on this show, people are generally panicky and dumb.
and we all just, we're very complacent. We just, I'm back. It's back to normal. Good.
Right.
Done.
And we will all find ourselves slowly but surely slipping into what we were doing before all this began.
The U.S. government released film of UFOs and nobody blinked an eye. Is beyond. It's unfathomable that people are just like, I'm stuck in my house. I could care less about little green men.
Are you talking about the one that kind of looked like it was like this glowing ball on the screen that the Navy pilots were following?
Yeah. They or I think it was 3 of them or something. I think that they were following, and the government, normally would never, put anything like that out.
Right.
And I think they were putting it out there, hoping to distract us from all of this other stuff. And we were like, we're not biting on this one this time.
All we want to know is if they're washing their hands. Are they washing their hands? Do they got a mask on?
If you're a grown adult and somebody has to tell you to wash your hands, there's something seriously wrong.
For a fact, though, you've seen a lot of not so clean people out in the world here and there, and there's some dummies out there.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
I like the guys that are saying my hands are getting all calloused now.
That ain't from washing them. That's from you doing something else with it. and that ain't the only thing on you getting calloused.
Right. So. You're like, one arm's bigger than the other, too, right?
Yeah. Unless you're ambidextrous, buddy.
Switch hands again, stroke. Anyway, so one thing we didn't cover last time you were on the show, because we just talked about wrestling and things you've done in the past and future and all that kind of stuff. But talk to us about your acting, because you're definitely an actor and you're a producer and you do a lot of stuff with that. Talk to us about that.
Well, I don't consider myself an actor. I get acting jobs, but I don't. In my humble opinion, okay, in order for me to not say that I'm an actor, then it's something that I'm doing on a pretty full-time, regular basis.
Right.
That's like, if I go to Lowe's and I change the faucet on my sink in my bathroom, it doesn't make me a plumber. I can, put a ceiling fan in, but I'm not an electrician.
Sure.
So, but I do get opportunities, and I've had quite a few, and I've gotten to do acting in a lot of movies, and I enjoy it. It's very different from wrestling, and it's people are surprised when I say, but I really enjoy the challenge of doing it, and it's a natural extension of and similar to what I've done in wrestling, but it's definitely not the same in any way, shape, or form. And it's definitely a different skill set. And I've been very lucky to get chances and opportunities to get experience doing it. And but it can be tedious, and people are always surprised. I think they think that acting or making a movie is real glamorous, and a lot of times it's the farthest thing from the truth. But I just did a movie. Had an opportunity to do a movie called The Whittler. It's a horror movie, and I'm pretty much the main bad guy in the movie, so I get to be a major dick. So,
for anybody who knows Al, that's kind of the opposite of his personalities.
It's not hard I can be very sarcastic and condescending, and I can be a complete dick. And
see,
but it's fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I really like to be the bad guy. I like to be the heel. I feel that a good antagonist is what drives any story.
Oh, I agree.
More so than the protagonist. I really, you don't have the legs if you don't have a heel that can really get good heat.
Oh, so, no, you're 100% right. I mean, how many times you found yourself going, man, I can't wait to see him get it.
Yeah. And that's the one guy that we all think of, more than Bruce Willis in Die Hard. You think of Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Because he was so awesome as the heel in that movie. I mean, he was just fantastic.
Fantastic actor, period.
Yeah. Yeah, very good.
I recently had an opportunity to do some acting myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that I could act, but a casting producer approached a friend of mine and said, hey, we're looking for this type of person. And what they described was me, minus the goatee. And my buddy came to me and said, hey, these guys are looking for someone that's like you. Have you ever acted before? I was like, no. I mean, I perform on stage, but I mean, I've never acted. And they're like, well, contact them and then see what happens. So I ended up reading for the main role of the pitch they're going to do to Netflix. And I can't really talk too much about it because I signed an NDA. You know how that is.
Sure.
But I ended up landing the understudy role, the main role of the place. And I don't have any credit to my name. And my wife was in the other room, so we did it via Zoom, the reading. And, there was a call back, and I had to do another reading. And, my wife was in the other room, and I came in, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she goes, damn. She goes, you nailed that.
Really? That's great.
Apparently I got some chops, so
well, good for you.
Yeah, it was interesting, and it opened my eyes that there's other things to do out there aside from comedy, and that's good news because comedy's brutal. So
that's a tough way to make a living. That is for sure. Yeah. But it's no surprise because if you've done work on stage, even comedy or whatever, it is to a degree a natural continuation of what you're already doing. It's just but it is different. I mean, it is a different skill set than that, and there's different etiquette. There's different rules. There's so much that you need to really try to learn, and I enjoy it. I mean, and it's kind of like when I started wrestling. I just consider it like paying my dues and working my way up. And I would pursue it more, but I just, unfortunately, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
It makes it was very difficult because luckily it was shot in Wise, Virginia, which is about 4 hours from Louisville. And this was in February. So, I had to drive over there. We would film from basically, at night when it would be about 8 o'clock, we'd start filming, and we'd film literally until probably 4 or 5, 6 in the morning, Sometimes a couple times went 7 to 8. And I'd be there for a day or 2 or 3, dependent, and then I would drive all the way back to Louisville so I could do work with OVW and keep that going, and then drive back and it got a little hairy for a while, but it was a great experience and got to meet some great people, and had a great time doing it. So.
Yeah, I remember when you were filming that, because I was inviting you to come out and do to watch some comedy, and you and your missus came out for one of them, and the two of you looked tired, But
I was worn out.
Had a good time though, right?
Oh yeah, we had a blast. That was
a lot of fun.
Gosh, what was the comedian's name? You and what was the other?
That was the last one you saw.
Yeah, hilarious. So funny.
He did the first episode of the Quarantine Chronicles with me. He's such a good dude. Really good guy.
Yeah, really funny. Just hilarious. Both guys were.
Oh, except for the guy in the middle. Ugh, geez. Switch gears on you. Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
You ever run into him?
Oh, yeah. Years ago, yeah.
You got that was a Bruiser Brody story?
Went out to Vern Gagne's territory in AWA, Minneapolis. I used to drive out there, and we would do what were called doing jobs on TV. The term job guy for wrestling is that in wrestling, if you're one of the guys that are on the main roster, if you're on TV, you don't get paid for TV, because it's an opportunity for you to, whether you win or lose, it's an opportunity for you to, it's a commercial, so that your name on a poster, it has a factor in how many people were in the building, because they recognize the name. So you make your money on the live events. You don't make your money on TV. But if you're a job guy, you're not going to be booked on the live events. You're just simply being brought in for the day for that TV taping. Hence, it's a job and not an opportunity, and you're a job guy. And you're there just to basically enhance the other talent, get beat. So, and when you first start wrestling, that's how everybody starts out. So we drive out to Minneapolis, and it's like a 24-hour car ride one way. This would be a carload of us. We drive out, and I never knew until I got into the locker room, at the TV studio, like who you were going to wrestle. And for whatever reason, they loved to put me with just these guys that were just, would kill you. You know what I mean? They just monsters. Right. So I had just a couple weeks ago was out in St. Louis at the Chase, and I'm sure I did something stupid, but Bill Irwin's brother, Scott Irwin, who was the Super Destroyer, big guy, just in the match, beat me in the back of the head repeatedly, to the point to where, like, when I got back in the locker room for about an hour, I couldn't see out of my left eye. All I could see was black and sparkles and all of that, right? So I'm sitting there in my chair, and in walks Abdullah the Butcher and Bruiser Brody. And I'm like, oh. And here's why. Back then, like every place you went, every territory, somebody had a story about Bruiser Brody, like practically killing guys. Right. And, and I had just been in St. Louis and got beat, get the crap beat out of the back of my head. And one guy was talking about Bruiser Brody the last time he was there, his run in St. Louis, and how he had kicked this guy in the face and, and like broke his orbital socket and all this business. And I'm like, please, 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 God, please don't, no, please. And hey, Al, it's going to be you and one of my friends, where you guys are in a handicap match with Bruiser Brody. And I'm like, great. So I go over to Brody, and I'm like, hey, whatever you want, man, you just tell me, but please, I explained about getting hit in the head, and I said, I appreciate if you just didn't hit me in the head. And he goes, oh, no problem, kid. He goes, just when you get in the ring, fight. I go, okay. So you know, get in the ring and we start, okay? And he's clubbing me, just thumping me. But he's hitting me hard in safe places, and he's never hit me in the head, okay? So, you know, it's me and my partner and tag in and out, and I'm desperately hoping that the match, because you can sense the rhythm, you can feel the timing, that I'm hoping that my partner will be the one who will be in the ring when they have to take the finish, okay? Tags me, and I'm like, damn it, it's me, right? So I come in, and I start fighting, and he clubs me, puts me down, slams me or something. I'm getting up, grabs me by the hair, and he walks over and just literally lifts his foot up like this and kicks straight out and kicks my partner right in the face, right? And kicked him so hard that it stunned him. So, and he's like, you know, and he just hung on the ropes like, and went all wobble leg. And he's got me by the hair, and I look up and I go, fall down. And he just kind of was like, ooh, you know, eyes kind of rolled up in his head a little bit. And so Brody goes, damn it, fall down, lifts his leg up again, kicks him as hard as he can right in the face. His nose explodes. Blood goes everywhere. He shoots off the ring apron, hits the floor, and slides all the way up to Gene Okerlund's feet.
Oh my God.
Now Brody's angry. So I'm like, you know, I'm under my breath. I'm like, oh God. He slams me. He's going to go to the far corner. He's going to do this big running, jumping knee drop. I'm dead. You know what I mean? I just know death is coming.
Jesus.
Jumps up in the air, comes down, never touched me. Covered me, said thank you. I about shit my pants.
Right.
You know, I laid there and sold it and got up and we went back to the locker room. He shook my hand. Hey, thanks, kid. Really appreciate it. I was like, no, thank you, man. Thank you. Meanwhile, my partner's over in the chair, got bag ice on his nose.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, wow, that worked out well for me, you know. But it just, him running after he had just kicked him in the face and all the stories I've heard,
Yeah.
and he goes over in the corner and jumps in. I mean, he's like 6'7", 6'8", 300 pounds, and it's solid 300 plus pounds.
Yeah.
And I was looking like, it was like looking down the barrel of a gun. You know, I was like, well, that's it. I'm dead. You know, my life's over. And he never touched me. I was like, oh, okay.
God. Yeah. All the matches that I've seen, you know, of course on TV, he played it. He sold it. That he was crazy. You know?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's got a 6-foot-tall woman at home and a son, and he's a big teddy bear. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Believe me, he was a monster. I mean, just back then there were so many the big hardened men, you know, that were in the wrestling business back then.
What's another one that comes to mind?
In regards to
like just one of those big hardened guys.
All of them. I mean, they just, you know, and the funny thing was, like, the one thing that has changed is the talent that are in the wrestling business. Back then, I'd say good 98% of them, they're probably some of the most intelligent, creative, classy. And what I mean by classy is, like, they can have a conversation with the president and come right out and have a conversation with a guy that doesn't have a pot to piss in, and, you know, not make it, you never realize that it was any different. And
the respect level was there.
Yeah, but the problem is they were so eccentric that most of them couldn't function in society if they weren't in wrestling. I mean, they'd probably be in jail, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just a weird, there's just a different kind of mindset, you know, like just goofy things I try to tell people all the time, like Nick Bachman would all the time answer the door when a cleaning lady would come knock on the door in hotels naked, just to see what kind of reaction he would get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a constant 24 hours a day of that kind of oh, let's see what buttons we can push emotionally, and
Sure.
see what we can get away with. And it didn't matter where we went, restaurants, gyms, it was a never ending, let's see who we can get over on. So, so it made for an interesting way to grow up. That's for sure.
Oh, no doubt. And you've been in this business the majority of your adult life, correct?
The whole time. Yeah. When I got in when I was 18, and I'm still in it right now. So, go figure.
I mean, people need the wise ones, the ones that have been around for a long time. The reason why you're a warrior and you're still doing it is because, there hasn't been anybody strong enough to take you out yet.
Well, but, the talent, the younger generation, of course, all assume, which I did too, like that their experience is completely unique. It's totally different now. It's all changed. And it's like, I'm telling you, I made those same mistakes. I've had that same thought in my head, and it's no different now than it was then. And it's a kinder, gentler business to be in now than it used to be. It was a much, much, much harder way to go back then.
I mean, and just look at the foreheads of the guys that came up from the 70s and 80s. I mean, their foreheads. I mean,
just the gig marks and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was these people who were constantly, I guess, to more or less a degree, either hazing you. They were always, manipulating you and trying to push you and see if they could crack you. And I explained to, like, even my wife, like, there's a part of me, like, it's literally, I'm not kidding, Josh, like, I'll be in a room and somebody will react. Like, you'll say something, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you'll see that you hit a button, and it's everything. Like, I get like, there's blood in the water. Yeah. And in like back in the day, like those guys, if they did something, like the first time when I went in Smoky Mountain, Ricky Morton had stole my car keys and locked them in my car. So, to rib me and to see how I react. So if I had sold it, right, and got angry or anything like that, that would have been open season, and the rest of the locker room would have just kept on until they broke me, But I just called the lock guy, had him come out, get my keys out, and I never reacted, never put it over, never sold it, because if you did, God help you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was going to be on then. It's time to.
I've heard stories of, the hazing, and it got like really, really rough. Like, guys taking a shit in people's, like, beds and stuff. And
on their bags. Yeah. Nobody liked it. When Jerry Lawler first went to WWF, they right off the bat came in, they shit in his crown, and Sonny, when Tammy, when she was Sonny and she was with the body.
Yep, you froze on me, bud. You there? It's not my side. Al, can you hear me? You're frozen over here.
There you are.
Are you back?
Good. Yep, we're back.
Okay. I don't know what the hell just happened. Okay, so
either.
You left off with saying Sonny, and then you said Tammy, and then it froze.
Oh, well, the Godwins were, at the time, Henry and Phineas were working with the Body Donnas, and Tammy was with the Body Donnas, Sonny. And every night, one of the spots was at all the events, was they would, have a bucket of slop and they would throw it on her. And the boys did not like her at the time. And they would line up, and the bucket would be in the bathroom every night, and they'd line up, and all kinds of stuff went in that slop bucket. So,
yikes! And she just took this.
Well, nobody at the time had smartened her up to what was in the bucket. So,
They just didn't like her, and that's
no, they didn't, and they did it on a regular basis. So, and that was normal. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah, hazing got pretty bad.
There's lots of stories and lots that a lot of them I can't really.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. I would
discuss in public. So, and people would, and when you do, people just look at it like, no, there's no way, and it's like, no.
Yeah, I've heard that they got not only really bad, but they got really inventive as well. There was.
Well, I'm telling you, they're incredibly creative. Kurt Hennig was very inventive and very creative when it came to things, and
second generation wrestling.
Marty Jannetty, he was ridiculous, and the links that they would go to do it.
Right.
Remember, Marty had these IcoPro amino tablets that he had literally gotten for free, and that had been sitting in his garage in Orlando, Florida, in the heat, to where they had brown on the edges. He would eat them. The only reason he would eat them was because it gave him horrendous gas.
Okay.
So when he was on a plane, or one day when we were in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome for TV, and they had the agent meeting, all the producers were, and they were sitting in it was this little tiny room, and it had one door, and he calls me over and he goes, "Watch this." And I go, "What are you doing?" And he's like, he gets a big grin on his face, and he just walks in and shuts the door. Right? I'm still standing there. He comes out laughing and walks off. All of a sudden, 10 seconds later, the door flies open. They all come running out, coughing, wheezing, because he went in and basically shit his pants and walked out. But that's how his brain worked. You know what I mean? That he would eat amino acid tablets specifically just so that it would give him bad gas, so he'd go in and be able to do things like that.
That makes me want to say, that's awesome.
Those are the links that these guys would go to. They just, it's ridiculous. So,
So how are the heads? Are they doing okay?
Oh, Head's fine. Head's great. We've been able to watch a lot of TV lately.
What's Head's favorite TV show?
Well, we of course watched Tiger King, which was just phenomenal. And listen, before anybody says anything, I'm not glorifying these people because they're all despicable human beings. But you have to understand that I appreciate and entertained by these people because that's what we just had that conversation about.
Right.
That's all I spent my whole adult life around.
Right.
So I could watch them for hours.
Yes.
Because it's so fantastic.
It was a 9-episode amusement park to me.
Just awesome. Then we'd gotten done with that, and then my daughter kept recommending that we go watch another shit show, which is 90 Day Fiancé.
Oh my!
Let me tell you,
please
love it.
Yeah,
love it. There's several variations, but my wife and I got hooked on before the 90 days. That's where these people meet somebody on the internet overseas, and then they travel. Before the 90 days is where they travel over to the country, and and it always starts out the same. It's my soulmate. I have such a connection. And then I've learned from this show, the two biggest words in the English language are if and but. Because I'm telling you, as soon as I hear a pause and I hear the word but come out of their mouth, I'm like, here we go.
Here we go.
Let's get it going now. And it's fantastic. I'm asking myself, I turn to her, and I'm like, I can't understand why these people can't find somebody here 3 minutes later, I'm like, well, that question's been answered. I'm done. I'm done. I get it. I completely understand.
Yeah, I have not watched it.
You've got to watch. We're in season 4 right now.
Oh boy, there's 4 seasons.
Oh yeah, there's 4 seasons, and there's all these other shows because there's the 90 Day Fiance, okay, and that's where they are engaged, and then they have like 90 days, and they got to get married.
Right.
So tremendous, and they're all such healthy, functional relationships, and it's. Outside of Bates Motel, this is the only other TV show that I actually speak to the television. Tiger King, too. I spoke to the television in Tiger King, too. I cut promos on Tiger King. And I cut promos on these 90 Day Fiancé people all the time.
What do you say to them?
It's just, I could start telling you the different couples, and it's awesome. As you can see,
I'm going to watch it now.
It's before the 90 Day Fiance, and I'm telling you, you will watch it, you'll get hooked, and then you'll go back and watch the other seasons. And there's a couple of them that now they keep making returns on other seasons because, of course, we can't learn a lesson from the other one. It's just
right.
We got to keep doing the same thing. So I touched the stove and it was hot. I got burnt. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back in and touch the stove again and make sure it's still hot. Oh shit, it is. Fascinating. These people are just absolutely fascinating, and they're so. It's the real thing that's funny to me is that people so desperately want to be a celebrity. That's all people care about today.
Right.
Is that they just want to be famous to the point that they'll degrade themselves in public on television to basically become a celebrity.
Right.
To have a sphere of influence outside of just their small circle so that they can be recognized in public and that they can be acknowledged on social media.
You're
it's
right.
And get upset when it's negative.
Right.
Got news for you. You chose to put yourself in the public eye. Guess what's going to happen? A lot of it's going to be negative. You're now the center of attention, which means that not all of it's going to be positive and not all of it's going to be in front of you. So you just be ready, and you better have a tough skin. Better have a very thick skin.
Oh yeah, because that big old target ends up on your back and.
Oh yeah,
fired.
Yeah. Hey, and I've had to over the years learn, because the only reason that the people, it's human nature to be negative. I mean, it's a survival instinct, and that's just what it is. But on social media, people will make comments not because they're trying to put you down. They're trying to get you to acknowledge them so that way you've just now put a spotlight on them. And it took me a while to learn that lesson and to stop giving them what they wanted, which was attention, so that they could then feel like they were outside of their own sphere of influence. They were now getting more attention, and I was validating them. So, but I got to tell you, if you ever have a problem like that, the best response I have found to anything that anyone says to you on social media is just reply, your mom. That's it. Just say your mom jokes. My son and I sat for about an hour one day with this guy who ran me down, and he's like, you suck, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, your mom doesn't think I suck. And he'd get more upset, and he'd start firing, you could just see him, typing really angry. And then my son came in, and he's like, what are you doing? I go, watch this. And I would do another your mom response. The guy get even angrier. So then he started giving me lines of your mom jokes too, right? So the guy's getting even angrier. Well, now it gets attention from all the other people watching this exchange. So they jump on too, and they start hammering him. He gets even hotter. And it went on for like a solid. We sat there, my son and I sat there and laughed until we were crying. And this poor guy is thinking he's just, really getting me. And I'm just kept your mom responses constantly, and it just made him angrier and angrier.
I absolutely love that you're doing that. I approve. On my Instagram, I'm constantly making fun of vegans and flat earth people, anti-vax moms. So, of course, I get a lot of heat. I get trolls a lot that come to my Instagram and just, like, attack me. All right, first off, I'm doing it because I'm a comedian and I think it's funny. So, fuck you, it's my page. I can do what I want to do on my page. But at the same time, I love egging them on. And I had this one lady who responded literally, I'm not kidding, man, it was at least 4 paragraphs of why she's an anti-vax mom. And she went on and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. And I stopped reading for a little while because it was just like, I need a break. I'm tired from reading all this. And I got down to the bottom and I said this to her. I said, you know, there are a lot of decaffeinated brands on the market that are just as tasty as the real thing. I just left it, and man, she fried up.
For years, I had a Facebook account and I just never bothered with it, And one day I was in San Diego airport waiting on a flight, got delayed, and I got bored. And I started making stupid comments, just obnoxious comments.
I used to have the most random funny things you would put on there.
Yeah. To me, it was funny. You know what I mean? And I made this comment. Keep in mind, it's not like I made just this comment. That day, I made multiple ones that were just inane. And I made some comment about the pedophile prostitute says, yes, tricks are for kids, right? This woman immediately takes me to task. Just, what are you thinking, blah, blah, blah. I don't respond to her. But another guy begins to respond on my behalf and defend me. Now they're beginning to fight back and forth, which was tremendous. I'm thinking, this is insane. And, when he finally tells her, which was the best line ever, he tells her to go gargle glass.
Oh, God.
Was awesome. She disappears. 10 minutes later, another man now is on and goes, hey, I'm this lady's husband. She called me at work crying because you hurt her feelings. The two guys start to fight until it builds to the point to where they want to kick each other's ass. And I'm thinking, they don't even know where each other live. One could be clear on the East Coast, the other could be on the West, and they're wanting to drive to each other's house. And this man is fighting with another man because his wife called him crying because she got her feelings hurt on social media. I know. It's insane. So I was like, this is the greatest toy ever, So one day I made some stupid joke about the fact that unlike the rest of us, sexual predators don't wait and want for sex. They go out and make things happen. And dumb, you know what I mean? Just obnoxious. This guy sends me a message, and it's all in capital letters, and it's like, your lady, like multiple paragraphs, that apparently, as I'm reading this, he's been offended by this joke and is explaining to me and trying to justify the fact that he is a convicted rapist, and that, hey, sometimes when things get started and somebody says no and you can't quit, and I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. You're a rapist and you're offended that I made a joke about you. Like you have some moral high ground. You're a predator, for Christ's sake. It's like,
you shouldn't be on Facebook.
How can you be so sanctimonious? I mean, it's absurd. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was always fascinating to me and I had to quit, I'd stop. But it was fascinating to me that, because it was all dark humor and it was just stupid, ridiculous stuff. It was always fascinating that 9 out of 10 were funny.
Right.
And then you'd hit the 10th one that somehow had a personal bend for them. Now, right. They didn't mind the other 9.
Right.
Those were funny. But this one, because it touched a nerve, well, now I'm offended. And it's like, look, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't like the other 9 because you didn't have a family member or an issue that was personal with that, and then now call me out on the 10th one.
Right. You're not allowed to get offended.
They're either all bad or they're all good. You can't pick and choose, you know.
Yeah.
And that's where I found it very fascinating to watch people's. And again, that's the wrestler in me, is I'm pushing buttons and I'm watching the responses, and then it became like a science experiment for me. It really did. And but then I realized I need to quit. So I was getting out of hand.
Anthony Jeselnik, I don't know. Do you know that comedian?
No.
Okay, so he's a very, very dark comedian. He touches on all taboo subjects, and I'm talking rape and pedophilia and child porn. He hits everything that's dark and taboo. That's his cup of tea. He manages to make them funny, believe it or not, and he's gotten popular for doing that. Well, anybody who likes that type of humor goes to see him, and he's about an hour in this show when he starts talking about suicide. And this one lady, she yells out, "You should not be talking about suicide. That's wrong." He stops the show. Right? He goes, "Ma'am, I'm sorry. You're saying that me making jokes about suicide offends you?" She said, "Yes." He goes, "Ma'am, had I known that that was going to offend you, I would have been talking about suicide this entire fucking time." And the whole crowd loses it. And he's right, because you know what kind of comic he is. If you're offended by something.
And why is it that the rest were good, the rest were okay, but now this one's bad? It's either all bad or it's all good. You can't get to pick and choose, you know. And especially if you know going in that the guy does material like that in the first place.
Absolutely.
Then be prepared. I mean, you know, and here's. I try to live by this myself and remind myself of it all the time. But, you know, here's a real life fact. Nobody makes you feel anything. That's God's honest truth.
Yeah.
Like, people say or do things, and then you interpret that based on whatever, and you then choose a feeling. You either get angry, happy, sad, morose, whatever. But you can make a choice to not react or respond to things. You know what I mean? And that's up to you.
Yeah.
You can choose not to be offended. I mean, you really can. It is a choice. It definitely is a choice. And you know, it's you guys, you know, comedians have a very tough job these days, because you've got to, you know, you got to be very, very careful and very delicate, because you know, you say the wrong thing, and you know, even like, I mean, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Comedian, buddies with The Rock, short. Kevin Hart. You know, he made some crude joke, and then it came back to haunt him, and you know, lost an opportunity. And it's like, come on, man. I mean, and people literally went and looked for it too. I mean, you got to go dig for this stuff, you know. It's like, come on. So I don't envy you guys. It's got to be really hard, because you can find stuff that you think is funny, and all it takes is like that, where one person, you know, it hits a nerve, and then they can literally stir it up into a shitstorm, and
they take it to social media,
and they can make a mountain out of a molehill, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's so much like, I don't want, even as a wrestling commentator these days, I don't want that job.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, because you're inevitably going to say something in some manner that's going to upset somebody, you know, and then it's going to become a bunch of drama. So, you know, and you know, it's that's why I always tell people on my social media, I tell them, I'm responsible for what I say. I'm not responsible for what you understand.
Those are good words, good advice. I was just going to ask you, so what do you say to people? And that you answered me before I could even get it out.
Completely responsible for everything I say. I am. But I'm not responsible for how you understand it or interpret it. I can't be held accountable that you got offended. Well, okay, you know.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
being offended me. So
yeah, I mean, there's been tons of times when I've said things that I didn't mean the way they took it. You know, they're just running off on a tangent, and it's like, I didn't mean that. And then you try to explain to them, like, no, now you're just trying to defend yourself. I was like, well, yeah, you just attacked me. That's what happens when you get attacked.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to try to explain it to you, because it's clear to me that you're a moron because you didn't understand the first statement in the first place. So my explanation to you is never going to be able to hit home anyways, because you don't have the IQ level to figure it out.
Yeah. And I think that's a big problem with today's society too. You know, the majority of the country is not on social media. It's not inspired by social media. And that's a big misconception. Everybody thinks that everybody's on social media. That's not true.
That's not true.
The lower IQ people are on on social media, and that's where we have the problems. I mean, the people.
But and social media is just a tool. It is not, it's not the problem. The internet is not the problem. It is people's use of it that is the problem.
Agreed.
That's where, and you have to take on self-responsibility. If you want to interact with other people, then be responsible and realize you don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to make a statement. But the problem is there's no direct repercussions anymore for people's behavior. Back in the day, if you did something, you made that, you popped off like that, somebody slap you in the face, and now there's not that direct repercussion anymore. So people are emboldened, and because of their anonymity and the distance on the internet, and they have access to information, and everyone feels that because of that access to information, they are now an expert on any particular topic, and they have real knowledge about something when nothing could be further from the truth. Because in order for you to have real knowledge, you need information and then a commensurate amount of experience to put together to really have that knowledge. Otherwise, I'd be telling the doctors all the time what to do. Right. It's people just don't view it that way anymore. They think, well, yeah, I read this at such and such a place, or I heard this on that, and so now I have the information, which now means I have as much knowledge as a person who's been doing whatever it is for their whole life.
Right. Now majority of opinion has become fact.
And opinion is the lowest form of human knowledge. It literally takes little to no information or knowledge to conjugate one and just throw it out there in the public space.
Right. But yet it's now the strongest, and that's the same problem with our court system. According to science, human observation is the lowest form of evidence that possible you can have, but in a court of law, a person witness is one of the highest forms of evidence. So I mean, we definitely have some issues.
I agree. It's but hey, there's Tiger King and there's 90 Day Fiance, and that's what's important. So
I'm totally gonna watch 90 Day Fiance now. Now that I have
you're not gonna regret it. I'm telling you. I got my business partner to watch it. He was sitting there texting me last night, like we were like, two chicks back and forth. Oh, can't believe this couple. Can't see what they're doing. It's fantastic. You'll be cutting promos on the TV while you're watching these people. It is the slowest train wreck that you just can't stop watching. It would be like watching an Amish carriage crashing into another Amish carriage. It's coming, and
you gotta watch it.
It's Austin Powers in the steamroller scene where he rolls over that guy who just keeps screaming, "Stop!" And then the inevitable happens.
Right. Where can people find out information about you, about your promotion?
They can follow me on social media at The Real Al Snow. I had that because before the blue check mark and all that business that I got. So it is really me. In the past, there were people that would claim they were me, and I would send them a message and go, look, aim the bar higher, kid. If you're going to fake being a celebrity.
The bar higher.
What are you doing? Christ's sake. Be Tom Hanks, Brad Pitt, somebody like that, and if they want to anything with OVW, they can go to ovwrestling.com, or if they want to go information about the school, they can go to aswa.live. We are still broadcasting on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock on WBNA Channel 21 in Louisville, and on Friday nights, we are now on the YTA network, which means we're in about 44 million homes nationwide. And it airs at midnight Eastern time on Friday nights. And if you want to watch it, you can watch it on YouTube. We have now 2 separate shows. We have the OVW Wrestling that airs on Tuesdays and Fridays, and then we have OVW Overdrive, which airs on Saturday mornings at 11, but it's also on YouTube as well. And we also have our own streaming network, which is ovwwrestlingnetwork.com. So, and I know, yes, OVW Wrestling is redundant, but I had to put the wrestling in there because people may not know the W stands for that. So, so before anybody sends me a message, he goes, man, well, you know, that's kind of stupid. You put an OVW Wrestling, Ohio Valley Wrestling Network. Oh, that's really smart. Well, yeah, because other people don't know the W is wrestling. So I have to kind of help them along, kind of like what I'm doing for you right now when you're sitting here trying to point this out to me. So,
and it's like everybody always says, ATM machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you've got to listen, this group of people are why we have instructions on shampoo bottles.
True.
Okay? And the people that I end up, the guy with your mom response, I guarantee you at some point in his life, he's probably going to die by a vending machine falling on him. So
we had somebody tell me, I think it was Rich Guzzi. He's a hypnotist and comedian. He was on the show and he was talking about all these different ways accidents or people have died, and vending machines falling on people is actually one of the ways people die in America.
Why do you think there's a warning on the thing? Because somebody did it. It's insane. Why put do not eat on the silica packets? Somebody went and opened up they were going to put together a bookcase, and they went, oh my God, somebody left a pack of chiclets in here. Let me eat these.
You're right, though. Yeah.
I don't use the hairdryer in the bathtub. Why? Because I guarantee you some Nimrod, oh, you know what? I'll save a little bit of time. I'll just go ahead and blow dry my hair while I'm sitting here in the bathtub. Moron. Jesus Christ.
Al, it's been great having you, man.
Thank you. As always, I always enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Whole lot of fun. And this thing stops. Actually, I'm still booked for 2 shows in Louisville, August and I think September or something like that. So if we're free, I'll make sure I send you some tickets.
Please, yeah. We'd love to come to the show. We had so much, both times we've had so much fun. It's so enjoyable.
It's always great seeing you, man. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. For Al Snow, I'm Josh Sarven. We'll see you guys later.
Hey guys, I hope you liked the video, and if you liked the show, make sure you throw a like down there somewhere. There should be a like, and there's a subscribe button over here.
And hit the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell, and check us out, man. Stay in touch with us. We're always putting out videos every week, and it should be a lot of fun, right?
Write us a letter.
Bright as rain, bright as the mail. Thanks, guys. Damn, that should work.